All right, so we are going to be multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Translation, multiplying and dividing either fractions or decimals. So the first thing we're going to look at is multiplying fractions. If I have negative 2 over 7, and you guys have already written in your journals, so you can just look here, times 1 over 3, when you're multiplying fractions, how do we multiply? Straight across. So I say, I don't know why I wrote equal sign again, negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2, over, and then what's 7 times 3?
21.
So that would be my answer. The only exception would be I would look to see, can I reduce this in any way? It is already as reduced as it can be, so you're done. If I have a division, I have negative 1/2 divided by 4 over 9. When we're dividing fractions, what are we actually doing?
Flipping it and multiplying.
Yep. So I take negative 1/2 times 9 over 4. And then we just follow our multiplication rule, which is negative 1 times 9, and then 4 times 2. So my answer is negative 9 over 8. Any questions? All right, let's do example 1. Put in your journals. Find negative 5 1/5 divided by 2 1/3. So what's my first step?
We have to make it an improper.
Correct. We need to make it improper, which you do 5 times 5 plus 1,
26.
which would be 26 over 5. And then 3 times 2 plus 1
7.
is 7 over 3. What's my next step?
To flip the second.
Yeah, since this is divide, we're going to flip it and multiply. So leave the first one alone and flip the second one. Now we just multiply straight across. 3 times negative 26 .
78.
Yep. 7 times 5. 35. Now, real quick, you could leave this as your answer, but what was our original number format?
Mixed.
Mixed. So we really should take it back to mixed.
How did we get 7 on the top? Or how did we get 3 on the top and 7 on the bottom?
Because, look here, it was originally division, and we flipped it to reciprocal so we could multiply.
Oh.
Right? Okay, so now how do I make this mixed number?
How many times 35?
Yeah, how many times can 35 go into 78?
Once.
It is actually twice.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. Which would be 70. 35 times 2 is 70, so we have 8 left over. Over 35. What am I missing?
Negative.
Yes, it's a negative. Don't forget your negative. Any questions?
Not back here.
Good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, so now let's look at example 2. We're multiplying negative 2.5 times 3.6. Does it matter in what order I write these?
No.
Nope. So I could say negative 2.5 times 3.6. Right? So 6 times 5 is,
30.
carry the 3. 6 times 2,
Is 12, 15.
6, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm done with that. Put a 0. 15 is 3 times 5. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1, 7. So now we add them all up. How do I figure out where my decimal goes?
The numbers, how much numbers are behind?
How many numbers are behind the decimal? How many are there?
2.
So I go over twice. What am I missing?
The negative.
Yes, because this is a negative times a positive, so the answer is negative. So the answer to this entire equation is negative 9. Make sense? All right, the next example is guess and check method, which I dislike immensely, so I'm not going to make you do it. Example 3, we're not going to do. You will rarely, if ever, never see that, so I don't know why we need to practice it. So we're going to do on your own. Grab your piece of paper, on your own number 1. Please show your work as a reminder. Okay, so we have negative 6/5 divided by negative 1/2. What is my first step? Yep, let's do the multiplication. So I have negative 6/5 times negative 2 over 1, right? So multiply straight. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. So we know my answer is going to be positive, so now I can pretty much ignore these negative signs. 6 times 2 is?
12.
5 times 1 is? 12 over 5,
2.
which would be 2 and what? 2 over 5. Everybody agree? Shh, 8th grade, getting loud. It was not a mixed or anything, right. So I would accept this as an answer. I don't. This is the simplified version of it. Either way is fine. Okay, number 2, we have 1/3 divided by negative 2 and 2/3. So, first step.
We have to put it into.
Yeah, actually we have to move this into an improper. So 3 times 2, what?
How did you get a half?
I didn't mean to. It's called a mistake. Good job. Way to catch it. 3 times 2 is?
6.
Plus 2. So this is actually 8 over 3, right? So then I can flip that and I get negative 3 over 8. Now we multiply. We have a negative times a positive, so what's my answer going to be?
Negative.
Negative. Woo, wrong one. Pen. Negative. So now I do 3 times 1, which is?
3.
8 times 3.
24.
Can I reduce 3 over 24?
Yes. It's just 1 over 8.
Yes, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 24 divided by 3 would be 8. Any questions? Am I zooming too fast? Please tell me to slow down if I'm going too fast. All right, let's look at number 3. We have negative 1/2. Ooh, this one's tricky. Cubed.
An exponent?
It is an exponent. Have we done much exponents yet?
No.
I don't think we've done very many. Okay, when you see a number cubed, that's the same as saying the number times itself 3 times. So I could say negative 1/2 times negative 1/2 times negative 1/2. Okay? So what's 1 times 1 times 1?
1.
1. A negative times a negative is a?
Positive.
Times another negative would make it
Negative.
negative. Okay, what's 2 times 2?
It's 4.
Times 2?
8.
8. You have just multiplied your first exponent. Woohoo! You've done these a little. We did them briefly in 6th grade, but didn't hit them real hard. Now let me show you the faster way to do it, because you got the concept. So when I'm looking at negative 1/2 cubed, I just think 1 cubed, 2 cubed. I'm basically applying the cube to both numbers. So I say 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is
4.
times 2 is.
8.
So you don't actually have to write it out like that if you don't want to. Always in your head do the negative too. Negative times negative is a positive, but then times another negative goes back to negative. Cool? So either way, you got the same answer. All right, number 4, right? We have 1.8 times negative 5.1. So I would write this out. 5.1 times 1.8. What's a negative times a positive?
That's a negative.
So then you know your answer at the very end is going to be negative, right? Okay, so let's just do the multiplication. 8 times 1 is? 8 times 5 is?
40.
Done with the 8, put a 0. 1 times 1?
1,
5 times 1?
5.
And we add. And then 2 behind the decimal, so I move over twice and I put a 0. What am I forgetting?
Negative.
So my answer is negative 9.18. Any questions? All right, number 5 is negative 6.3 times negative 0.6. Negative times a negative is a?
Positive.
So I know my answer is going to be positive. I can pretty much ignore these two negative signs. So I can just do 6.3 times 0.6. 6 times 3 is?
18.
Carry the 1. 6 times 6
36.
plus 1, 37. Do I have to do the 0 times all this stuff? No. I just need to look at my decimals. How many are behind the decimal? So my answer is 3.78. Pretty easy stuff. Good. Take your time. You can always use your calculator to check your work. Make sure you got it right. The important thing with a calculator is the negatives when you're dealing with the negatives, because it will, let me show you. Everybody got this one? So on the last one that had the negative, was it 1/2
Oh, yeah.
cubed? If you put this in the calculator and you don't put these parentheses, then your answer, the sign will be wrong. It won't calculate the sign right. Because what it'll do is treat it like 1/2 cubed and then throw a negative on the front. So it may or may not be correct. In this case, it would work out right. But if this was, times squared, then your answer would be negative, but it's really actually a positive. So just if you use your calculator to do these calculations, which is fine, be real intentional about where you put the parentheses, okay? For the negative signs. All right, what are we, number 6? Number 6. Oh, here we go. So we have negative 1.3 squared. Perfect example. So on your calculator, I would put open parentheses, negative 1.3, close parentheses, and then square it. But you can do it by hand just as fast. So this is the same as saying negative 1.3 times negative 1.3. Negative times a negative is a?
Positive.
So all I have to do is 1.3 times 1.3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. Done with that, put a 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1.
1.60.
And then decimal goes here. Everybody get 1.69?
Yes.
You may use a calculator on these if you want to. It's important you know how to do it, though. Good? All right, example 4, last example. Okay, we're going to calculate, the mean change. Cool. So let me take a picture of this real quick. Yes, it is. All right. So the question is, an investor owns stock A, B, and C. What is the mean change in value of the stocks? Okay, again, what is mean?
Average.
Yeah. So this is, you're finding the average of these 3 stocks.
Yeah.
So you see the change is here, right? So we need to add all 3 of those and then do what? Divide by how many? 3. How many there are? 1, 2, 3, exactly. So let's add them. We would say negative 180.39 plus 127.28 and then plus a negative 280. So I don't think we can do all these together. You can on a calculator. But here we should do add 2 and then add the third one. Okay, so when I have this as a negative, my answer is going to be a negative, isn't it? So 9 minus 8 is 1, 3 minus 2 is 1, 10 minus 7 is 3.
Addition sign? I thought we were doing addition.
It is an addition sign, but since the negative is a bigger number, we actually have to subtract and then put a negative in front of it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So we get 73.11.
That makes sense.
Yep. Because if I'm looking at a number line, yoink, I have way over here is my negative 180. And then I'm adding 27, so I'm going this direction, but I'm not going to pass the 0. I'm going to end up here at 73.11. So mathematically, you subtract the smaller number from the bigger, and you just throw a negative in front of it.
For negative, you have to go up the numbers down.
If you're starting at negative and you're adding to it, you go towards the 0, to or the right. Oh, that should have been a 7. Way to correct me. I love it. I'm trying to rush. Don't ever rush, guys. 7 minus 2 is? So this should be a 53. Woo, way to correct me. Good job. I should get candy out for people who catch my mistakes. I'll buy a bag of candy and throw it at you sometime. Okay, so we have 53.11 and we need to add the negative 280.52. Now both of these are negative, so I'm actually going to go further negative, aren't I?
Positive.
No, I'm going to go further. It's a negative minus a negative.
You wouldn't add?
You do add the numbers, but you then throw a negative in front of it.
Adding.
So I'm actually adding.
So negative
333.
333.63.
You got 333.63? Did I add incorrect?
I got 333.63.
Yes, you should get 333.63.
3 because 5 plus 8.
Okay, just make sure I'm not crazy. I've made two errors today. I don't want to, my 3 looks bad, so I'm rewriting it. All right, so now we have all of them added up together. We're finding the average. What's my next step?
To divide them by 3.
Yes, divide all that by 3. So 3 goes into 3. I'm going to go to the next page. 3 goes into 333.63. Now this is a negative, so what's my answer going to be?
Negative.
Negative. 3 goes into 3 how many times? 3 goes into 3. One more time. Let's bring down my 6. 3 goes into 6 how many times?
2.
Bring down my last 3. 3 goes into 3.
1.
Woo!
That's a lot of.
That's a lot of 3s. At least it's all multiples of 3, so it divides evenly. So, over all 3 of the stocks, what was the average? Did he make money or lose money? He lost $111.21. That's not a good day in stock world.
That's bad.
Good. Okay, we have one more on your own. But keep your journals open because it's involving what we just did. Well, you can just keep your books open either way. So they're adding to this. In example 4, we now have one more stock, stock D. And it had a profit of $568.23. They want to find the mean change of value of the 4 stocks. So we already added the 3 stocks. We just need to do what?
Add the other.
Add the 4th one to it and then divide by what? 4, because now we have 4 stocks instead of 3. So we're going to take that 333.63 and add 568.23. Okay? Which one is bigger?
The 5, 6.
the 568, right? So I'm actually going to put that on top. And then subtract the 333.63. Since, well, it's adding, but it's a negative number, so you're subtracting. So 3 minus 3 is, and then we borrow 12 minus 6, 7 minus 3, 6 minus 3, 5 minus 3, and it's a positive number because the number on top was larger. So that's the value of all 4 stocks added together. What do we need to do? Divide by what? 4. So let me see if I can fit this on the screen. 4 divided into 234.6. Can 4 go into 2? No. Can 4 go into 23? How many times?
5.
Yep. Subtract 20 and I get, bring down my 4. Can 4 go into 34?
Yes, 8.
Which is 4 minus 32. Bring down my 6. Can 4 go into 26?
It's 4. No, 6.
6. 6 times 4 is, I'm going to move this over here and keep going. 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring down my 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. How come I went one more decimal?
Because you added a 0.
But why? Why did I add that 0? Why didn't I just stop and leave a remainder? Here's my hint.
Money.
We're dealing with money, always go to 2 decimals. If this didn't end up evenly here, I would have gone one more decimal and rounded to 2 decimals because you're dealing with money. So, what was the mean average of all 4 stocks?
58.
Profit or negative?
Profit.
That's a little better. Good thing he had stock D. He didn't lose money overall. But he didn't profit very much. That's it. You may turn that in. You need to do IXL. Which one is it? I forgot. I know. That's why I didn't finish it. It's on your Chromebook. I think it's E7, but I can't remember for sure.